Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the work meeting of February 2025 for the planning commission. In attendance are Kim Peterson, Lee Ballard, and myself, Riley Pope, and our esteemed guest, Mr. Kevin Smedley. And we are going to be discussing several items. The first being the general plan updates that Kevin will share with us. Welcome.
Thank you. First of all, I put some things in front of you. I put the completed summary with 3 additional surveys added. So it didn't really change any of the statistics, but there's some added comments in there that you have access to now. So you have all those.
You mean the ones that were unpleasant are in there?
Those are no longer in there. Those were taken out. So this you can feel free to circulate it. The ones that were were accusatory, it's just that I didn't feel like that was appropriate to put in a document that's providing a summary for the community.
But we could read the originals if we.
Right, and the originals are, you have access to all that.
Kevin, before we get started, there is one little question in my brain. So do you remember our open houses and all the comments, and I created those spreadsheets? Is that the document we need for the archive, or do I need to keep all those posters and stuff still? Because I still have them.
For your public record, for you I don't think you need the posters. I think the summary documents would be all you need.
I didn't want to get.
You don't keep everything from a public meeting, you keep the summary.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so the other things that I've handed out are, first of all, the first 2, the introduction and the land use element, were what were handed out last meeting. And just wanted to know if you had any, now that you've had a chance to review the summary of the town comments survey, if there are any of the items that you would like to address. It sounds like you've done some work on the introduction, so should we just put that aside for now and not wait to get back? Okay.
And we have made comments on the documents, the other one. The only one we don't have comments on is the newest one,
Okay,
which I will upload it to the commissioners, SharePoint tomorrow.
okay. And well, let me just jump ahead to what I sent 2 weeks ago. I resent the housing element because I realized that the introductory paragraphs were not included. So that's the only change on that one when you're looking at that. So if there's the previous one that did not have that introductory paragraph, it just jumped right into the current conditions, then that's why you got it a second time. And then the other one that I sent to you was the transportation and circulation element 2 weeks ago. But now let's go back to the land use element. So my main focus, or my main point for tonight, or the thing we need to discuss, is not so much all the verbiage, but getting right to the areas of focus and to the goals and policies. Are these still things that, after reviewing the summaries, that we want to keep in there? That that we would like to have still included in there? Or maybe the priorities change? Because kind of when you read the first focus, that seems like that's, even though they're not numbered, that's what your attention is drawn to when you first.
I don't feel like that's what the survey results put first.
Okay.
And
So there's 6 areas of focus that were outlined. So the property rights protection, private property protection, highway commercial and non-commercial, and highway non-highway commercial, orderly growth, the trailheads, the floodplain, and the economic enhancements.
And that's not current, correct?
This is the current document. So I didn't touch these other than a few grammatical things or questions that I added. Are these still things that we want to, we spending time on refining? That's the question, right? Uh-huh,
On, private property protection,
uh-huh.
in the survey, was there a lot of private property protection comments, a majority of private protection?
Of the comments that were received, it was the one that was the least pointed in any one direction. There was a number that said it's not important. There were a number that said it's somewhat important, a number that said it's very important, some that's extremely important. And I can't remember, this one had a few that I don't know, and you have the survey right in front of you. The other thing that I did with the survey, the tables on the survey, with those questions where they're all together, under the same heading, they're all set on the same scale. Before it was the auto scale, and so they all look very similar. So this one, you'll see, if you flip to the back, you're gonna see the property rights is not up like some of the others.
That was
Does that make
confusing
sense?
a little bit, so yeah.
A couple of questions concerning that.
Okay.
I think that, property protection seems to be, you know, a buzzword, that's become stronger in the last decade or so. It's certainly always been a buzzword, important, I think, in this community. And I wonder if it's something that if it's something that's kind of unique to Virgin, or is this pretty much the way it is across the spectrum?
So pretty much any community that you go into, you go in there as someone, they want things to stay the way they are in that moment. And they may regret some of the changes that have happened in the past. So for them, from my perspective, that's a property rights position, where they're basically saying, I don't want anybody to tell me what I'm doing on my land. And, you know, so on the one extreme is anyone can do anything they want on their property. On the other extreme, we live in a community, and so the community should be able to tell you everything you can or can't do on your property, right? And so, but generally people fall somewhere in between. Because they realize that, yeah, I want to be able to do the things I want on my property, but I also realize I can't do things that are going to negatively impact my neighbors or the community. And I realized I'm getting services from this community. And so there's some things I'm willing to give up to have those protections or those services that come to me.
I would vote for something like that in the general plan.
Well,
I don't know how you guys.
well, I agree that property rights is important to a sector to some extent more than others. I agree we should mention it. I don't think because of the results of the survey that it should be the first thing.
Okay.
I think we should have that balanced approach.
Yeah, and I think that's what I just said. I like it in the middle, saying, hey, we live in a community. I want to respect my neighbors. I
In fact,
want to respect private property rights, but we live together and we need to be a community. I think she's saying the same thing.
Mhm.
And I'll say sort of the same thing, which to me, reading the comments section, especially of the survey results, there's like a little handful of people that are, you can't tell me what to do on my land, and I don't think you should tell anybody what to do on their land. Then there's another small handful of people saying, don't allow any more growth at all in Virgin, and neither of those things make sense to me. So, yeah, I think most of our
Welcome to planning.
people and
Yeah. But I think this community is moving from a, how do I put this tenderly? Moving from a strong feeling about don't tread on me, what's the state that has it on their flag?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. And I understand that, I wanna respect that, I want them to respect me too. I'd like to somehow incorporate that, I'd like to recommend we.
Okay. Should we move it down somewhere in that list of priorities?
Sure, can we just order
I
by
would change the title to balance property rights with the overall general welfare of the community or something like that.
Okay,
So I think that's what we're trying to get toward.
right, okay.
But, well, the land use element. I've kind of made my own summary that for me to be able to wrap my head around so that I could, and hopefully that we could brainstorm how to implement those results somehow into our work. So I noticed, for instance, that as far as land use goes, residential is the big winner as far as, what the bulk of the uses people want to see grow here, goes. The second type is recreation, which really surprised me, because I don't even know what that means as
Yeah.
far as land use goes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But those were huge, so, I mean, I want, and maybe the general plan is kind of a place to do this, or in some more general way. I want to take that and say, residential's big winner, what action item does that suggest? And I say, amend the ordinance to allow for more diverse housing, create a future land use map to identify suitable locations for different housing options, resist converting residentially zoned land to other uses, which is something that would be new, you know, to not think about converting residential land to commercial or whatever other zones. And, so to me, that's an important finding and, something that should perhaps be included in.
I think the other one that really struck me as I was going through this, Kevin, is development on the south side of the river. There's a strong desire to
Prevent that,
prevent that.
yeah. That's been forever here.
Which
Right.
side of the river?
The south side of the river,
The side we're not on.
Prevent what?
commercial development.
Oh,
Let me see, development, it just says development south side of the river.
And from my perspective, in looking at the map of Virgin, there is a large block of land that's considerably south of the river, but everything else is either
It's
BLM
on Sheep Ridge Road.
or there's a couple of parcels that are private.
Right.
A big chunk of that land is Nature Conservancy,
Mhm.
and though we can't guarantee that Nature Conservancy will never dispose of that land, their mission is to conserve land, right?
And
So
they've never let a piece of it.
we can have that some level of assurance that that will stay there.
And
So,
we-
and that's right along the river.
We once adopted the, what did you call them? Some kind of rules of thumb that came out of the Vision Dixie. I don't know if you were around for the Vision Dixie
I wasn't.
thing. I was kind of involved in that. And anyway, the town ended up adopting some things like grow from the inside out. And, that sort of thing, which used to be in our general plan. And forgive me for saying, I think that the most recent general plan that we have now in place, it kind of ignored all the public input when it was adopted. I don't know if anybody agrees with that, but that's the way it looked to me. And that's what people have said to me who were kind of there for all of the input sessions and then for the discussions on what was finally adopted. So I don't want to feel like I don't feel like we should be married to what is there now.
Right, and
So,
I just came to this from the approach of, let's massage what's there, but we can completely redo what's there. I don't have an issue with that. So and that's why I've held off on these priorities, these areas of focus, and the goals and policies, is because now that you've had a chance to review this, let's look at these. And we can just say, no, we don't want that. Yes, we want to bolster that. We want to add this. It's your plan.
great.
So I'm the scribe.
Timetable wise, how can we help you get to that?
As long as you keep giving me feedback,
Yeah.
and, and we get to a point where it's like, yeah, we're comfortable with this language. It's saying what we want it to say. We can keep moving along.
I really wanted to say, the people told us,
And there's some great discrepancy between our current general plan and what the people
Yes.
told us. And I'm also, I guess Lee and Cameron, I'll add the matrix of the open houses, so you can see that as
Oh.
well.
Okay.
Because those voices, I
Yeah,
don't want those voices to get lost.
Right, right.
Because there were quite a few people.
So now that I'm getting a feel for what you would like, would it be helpful if when you get on to SharePoint and you're reviewing the document, you just say, let's take this out, let's put this in, let's do that area of focus, rather than me trying to mine things from you? Or,
I think so, and I'm just wondering if everyone should independently send their comments to Kevin by a certain date, rather than us going to.
can we do
SharePoint.
that?
yeah, that's fine
You
with
don't
me.
mind?
However you feel comfortable with it.
And I can come up with a timeline and share that with you, that we need to
Sure.
get comments on this section.
So
by then.
if we send everything off by a certain date, and then you will digest our comments before you produce something else to bring back to us.
Because we have different levels of facility, getting onto SharePoint and making comments.
Sure.
So I want to I do want to hear all commissioners' comments, and so I want to make it in a way that all commissioners.
And if somebody has to do it on paper,
And if they CC me on those comments, I can create a folder on SharePoint for each element, and I can put those in. So that we can all see them, because I don't want it to be like secretive among us.
I really think it's good if we can see each other's comments all in the same document.
But it makes it cumbersome to get them to him.
Right,
As long as if you can print it as a PDF or whatever, however, you can convert it so that I can receive and see all the comments, that's
Mhm.
whatever's fine,
Mhm.
however you can do it.
So I will look at the documents, and, because there's a couple that have comments by several commissioners on it. And, propose an email. And. Can you email me the most updated of these, so I'm making sure I'm sending.
I think other than the housing one, which I did send the other day,
Oh, yeah, it's just that.
yeah, they are all
Okay,
everything that I have.
okay.
I'm
So it's
working on
the same.
I'm working on the last few,
Okay,
and I'll be getting those to you
Okay,
shortly.
awesome. So if we can get our comments on these, then this month. And then
That'd
we
be
can
great.
start looking at the other things. And then, I'll make sure that all commissioners receive a copy of, the proposed introduction.
okay. I don't know if, I put this on SharePoint, and this is just like my list of the action items I could come up with, but I would love for all of you to say, well, why don't we do this? And it's called,
What's it called?
I can't remember.
But it's under 2025?
It's under 2025 and it's not in any particular month or
Is it in
folder. It's just loose in there.
ordinances in process? One comment, no, that's me.
There it is, oh, there it is, okay. Okay, was that fine?
Survey brainstorm action.
Oh, brainstorm action. Did you get it there?
No,
You don't,
I'll just,
she'll send it to me.
okay,
and you're gonna nag me.
well, I can give you.
Alright.
Oh,
Wow.
But you can't make comments and get it back.
that's true. Well, here,
So I'll still send it.
email me comments or something, all right? Or,
And, I think now that we have this most updated version, it behooves us to go through it one more time and then look at these and then add our comments.
The only thing that I would say is, if I were reviewing it again, because there was a few comments added here and there, mostly they just did check boxes in the 3 that I received. So there's a few comments up front. So if you want to look at the graphs, wherever it was from the same question, I made the scale the same. So on the other one, it was these auto scale, so you'll get a better feel for what people were saying, especially on the last one, where that was
all
the diagram, right?
Yeah.
great.
All right,
All right, Kevin.
anything else? So what I brought to you tonight was the housing element with the intro added. And that's just my take, please make it your own. And, hopefully it's a good start, and then the, transportation and circulation. And just adding kind of what I'm finding is on the current conditions, there's a lot of stuff that's probably not needed. And there's a lot of stuff that could be enhanced. Just to give you an example, added some stuff about Sheepridge Road. I'm currently working on the infrastructure one, which include, the environmental one, which had just a lot of stuff that was kind of, yeah, we should be good. And we have a climate that's somewhere between semi-arid and steppe climate. And that means we're below this and above that. Well, what does that mean? So I'm trying to put those things into context, if that's the kind of thing you want. So I'm putting in temperature ranges, I'm putting in rainfall, that sort of thing.
Lack thereof. Can I ask, are you able and willing to guide us on good planning practices as you do this? Because I get the feeling that you're kind of letting us do everything, which is.
Well, I'm letting, and then once I have your words, I will put them into words that would be good planning practices.
Okay,
How does that sound?
okay,
So,
Because a planning document is not a shall do this, shall do that.
all right.
Okay, this is the general plan, so it's a vision. So it's not code, it's a policy document.
I have a question on that too, because I understand that it's just an advisory document, but I've also heard that other Utah communities have adopted their general plans and ordinance and made it mandatory. And also I've heard of making statements in the general plan that require something in the ordinance.
You can assign yourself tasks. Yes, that's part of the general
Okay.
plan.
Okay,
So under the goals and policies, for example, if you had a policy that you wanted to do something with environmental issues, whatever it might be, you can assign yourself, in this time frame, we would like to draft an ordinance that will spell this out, that sort of thing.
so this brainstorming thing that I'm doing could lead to some statements like that in the.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Is that helpful?
Yes, except have you ever heard of a town adopting it as ordinance?
Some states they adopt it by ordinance. But it's also, it's a fluid document, so it's to be reviewed, periodically and adjusted. So there's a lot of debate about, do you adopt it by resolution or you adopt it by ordinance? So if you adopt it by ordinance, then does that supersede your zoning ordinance? Does that supersede your whatever other ordinances that you have that are actually the law that you operate under?
Right.
So, and I don't know that there's a clear answer.
Okay, not something we want to wade into.
The legislature is wading into that right now.
Oh.
Just so you know, they are looking into, whether to require communities to adopt their general plan by ordinance. And some do already. Right now, you are free to choose. If the legislature approved that legislation, you would be required to. So it's a matter of how do you want to approach it as.
What is it looking like they will do?
Right now, it's the very beginning of the debate, and there's a lot of people who are not favorable for it.
What is the stand of the Utah?
League,
The league,
they are opposed to it, the way it's currently worded.
Okay,
huh,
because if there was a lot of support, I would say, well, we better be smart too,
Yeah.
we better.
In fact, the league is asking members to please contact your legislator and let them know you don't favor this bill.
Okay,
okay,
okay, that answers a question, so we're not doing repetitive work.
I mean,
Right.
the legislature also already does say that, for instance, the town in its own projects has to follow the general plan, is that not correct?
That's correct, yeah, for you to, and that's probably why you're trying to pull these things that you want to work in into your general plan, is if they're not in your general plan, you can't go for funding, you can't do those things that lead to their actual realization.
Right,
So, so this is not just, let's be nice together, but this is, hey, we want to do these certain things. It may not be the engineer drawings, but this is where we're heading,
okay.
okay?
One more question, sorry.
No, you're good.
Is the capital facilities plan officially part of the general plan?
No, it's its own document that they support each other, so if there's stuff that happens in here that is like the priorities change, then the capital improvement plan is actually, I think, has to be reviewed annually. So if I can't remember, I'm not involved with that directly, but it's, at least the budget part does,
Yeah, okay,
so, and so it's a good idea to review it annually to see if you're still budgeting for things that you've planned for.
okay.
So they all work together and inform each other. This is the one ring to control them all. No, I'm just kidding. Okay,
Right,
all right.
thank you for,
Thank you.
letting us so many questions.
No, it's good, anytime. And I don't have it, well, yeah, I don't have anything in my card with me. If I do, I might have some in the car. Do you all have my email address and my phone, my
Sure we can get
work
it.
phone?
I'll send it all out to you, like.
Oh, good.
Thank you,
Okay.
Crystal.
Yeah, just so you have that, so don't feel like you have to wait to talk to me in this meeting.
Okay.
You can reach out to me.
Great.
I think in order to get this done by the time frame we want to get it done, we're gonna need to do that.
Yes,
Yeah,
Makes
I mean,
sense.
all the decisions will be made in this meeting. I'll
Yes.
float things
Right.
out,
Yeah,
you, and get your feedback, but, you know, ultimately, you're gonna have to hold a public hearing on this document and then recommend it to the town council.
yes.
all right.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, that allows us to move on to the lighting ordinance.
Yes.
And I did, listen to the, I was just trying to pull up, Mr. Campbell's letter we received, and I know you emailed it to us, Crystal. But I am having to,
Is Mr. Campbell the least?
Lauren Campbell.
Lauren,
Oh, Lauren.
I believe it's also in SharePoint,
It's also in your
I
right,
believe so,
and,
in the private hearing.
awesome.
I've got it.
I put it in the public hearing area.
can I ask Kent if, that letter made you feel that there would be appropriate amendments to make to the ordinance?
Um, I don't know that I've read the letter since he made the comments. I was interested in his feelings. I know that we can bat this around, probably for as long as we want to bat this around. I've driven through his neighborhood, at night, and there are significant, but not, correctable, issues with light. And, he was encouraging maybe instead of 7-year, what's the word? Amortization, maybe a 10 or, and then Joe, or I wasn't sure if it was Lauren or Joe said, and, or maybe, and, or, transfer a property owner or something like that,
Yeah.
sale of property. I didn't, as I thought about it after the meeting and talked with about a few people, I felt we've had a lot of review of this document from sources outside our community, from communities, from the state commission on dark sky, and with no recommendations of change, only comments of support and approval of what we were doing.
I really think it's good. I think that I don't mind the thought of us finding ways to help people who are stuck with some non-conforming lights that they put a lot of money into. And we kind of mentioned that night, that there might be some retrofittable shielding, or there could be
light bulb. Those are this, show with light bulbs.
Yeah, I don't know whether they have actual bulbs in the ones that they spent all that money on.
Yeah.
But it may not be, but anyway.
It's interesting to me that there's a community that is really different than, the other newer,
Subdivision.
housing of, Desert Gardens. Desert Gardens, we want it black over there, you know?
Yeah.
I would want it black, I would
Yes.
want some low angle streetlights and stuff like that, but I respect how they feel. The other side over here would like to have theirs lit up, and safety is a real concern to them in their letter and in their comments about being able to go out and walk, you know, without a flashlight or something like that. And so, I found that really fascinating that there are these divergences of feelings about what they want the neighborhood to be like.
Well, I mean, consider that it depends who you talk to too, because I don't know how many of the residents in Rio actually read through the ordinance and thought that they ought to make comments, but I haven't heard from anybody over there other than Lauren and Joe, I don't think. And in Desert Gardens, there are a handful of people who would like to have, you know, high street lights and everything, but I mean, safety wise, I think that the low ones that light sidewalks or walkways or whatever, I think they work perfectly well. And,
I think that the timeframe gives them time to, and I think there can be people who can creatively affect artistic shielding. They have a lot of these kind of like a tube on the building, like at the garages and some of the housing outside walls, where not just the bottom, the light's inside and it's going down, but it's also allowed to go up. It's just not shielded.
It's not always, and that's
sounds
like
like
it
it needs
needs
fixed.
It seems like it, but some people have a real strong feeling about how their lighting or their house looks.
Right.
Another problem over there is there are several where landscaping has been, floodlighted from the ground up into trees and shrubbery. And in talking to Joe after the meeting, who's on their commission or whatever that is, neighborhood commission, he said he's got some of that and he knows he needs to change that so that it's not going up into the tree and up into the shrubs and that it's shielded.
I have to say, I think that that was against the law when they put it in here.
I have always said that, most of the concerns involve people who are not compliant with the current ordinance.
Okay.
And so I think there would be a problem with most of these concerns that they probably are not compliant right now.
Okay.
And that makes me want to say, well, then why should I be empathetic? But at the same time, this is a huge change and education and communication are going to be critical, and time. I don't think this is going to change overnight.
No.
And we don't expect it to, and I don't think an ordinance enforcement person is going to be able to do that overnight. I don't want them to. We want to take surveys and see where things are and communicate with people by mail and give them the opportunity to change these things, but educating them, is critical.
Do you think there are a lot of aspects in which the new ordinance conflicts so clearly with the old one that there will be a lot of legal non-conforming lights? Or that most of them are illegal non-conforming lights?
Here's what I think. I believe that going forward, but by making developers and people building homes, commercial and residential development, going forward, if they'll abide by this ordinance, okay, I believe we'll keep what we've got and people will become educated into wanting to participate in that who were here before that or this new ordinance.
Yes.
And so I really feel that, the biggest challenges are going to be with commercial entities that we currently have. And if we can get,
So yeah, I was gonna say, I can talk to you about that, like, when it comes to our 2025 building, for commercial and everything. I'm currently working on the language and process, so everyone will be, follow the ordinances, so, and then the language will be changing, like, a check mark, I will comply with future, all the little things, the verbiage, it'll all be there. No one's seeing it currently right now, because I want it digital first, then print. So it's all being worked on, and everything that I'm learning about, all the ordinances that are there that aren't physically on the website. I'm taking the ones that are passing and the ones that are currently being made, and I'm educating myself and getting familiar with the current versus researching what's on our land use ordinances, because I know that's going to be pointless, because I don't want to learn what is going to be expired. So with that, as these are becoming the standard, I'm creating also the application and the process that relates to that. So currently, right now, building permits are kind of on it, just very, I'm not going to, if they come, I fill it out on paper, and then I'm doing everything by paper, and then putting in very vague and very just, so then that way, because we have to abide by what is current.
Right, well, they also should know that they
And I'm
have to
informing
abide
them.
by what's pending.
Yes, I'm informing them, because there's still a process before they can start.
Yeah,
So there is this, being very, like, information, like, this is what's current, this is what's coming, this is where you are currently, and this is what it'll be. And there's a lot of things and conversations happening, so once these things start becoming real, and then you'll be able to see the work being done,
I've had this
What?
recurring thought that I wanted to come into you.
Okay, well,
Shut
calm
up.
down.
This paper and say, give one of these to everybody that comes from.
And I only have, if there's resources that I too can like take and learn anything.
I mean, there's so much that you are responsible to give to people, and I think in the past, we've just relied on developers and people to get in there and read what they need to do, and they don't.
Right.
But so I really appreciate those comments. I want to come back, one more comment, and that was back to last night. And,
Last week,
last night, and thinking about, the presentation, on the BMX park and the discussion about, I don't know if you heard it or were you able to listen last night?
Is that after?
They're talking about doing, this town's talking about applying for a grant.
Mhm.
And inside of that presentation was that, to me, the biggest non-conforming entity of our existing ordinance is the town of Virgin. And I mentioned that last night at the BMX park.
Hmm.
And not everybody sees that because it's kind of isolated out there. But if you get up and look at sees what it does when it's on currently, it just totally blatantly does not. And we have a resolution in place right now from previous administration when they put in the lighting about 4 or 5 years ago. That, what's the term? A resolution that made it so that the BMX park is not required to be compliant to the current ordinance for lighting.
yes.
And last night, and that's, the new ordinance will wash that away.
Good.
And last night, the mayor said, and so did Shyla, one of the things that the grant will be required is the funds will be used to bring it into compliance with the new ordinance.
Yeah, and having attended the Dark Sky Summit, that was such an excellent presentation that showed if you're sitting, because the people I've talked to who have concerns about dark sky issues is safety. And with proper dark sky compliant lighting, that was great, the presentation. It
Yeah,
showed
it'll
it's-
benefit,
it's
it'll benefit the sport and it'll benefit the town. And I think, you know, the track managers is all for it. And when it comes to resources, we have to be mindful on what's being said, because we have to also, remember, we have to apply for the grant and you have to list out what you're spending the money on. So my takeaway last night was real bids, real estimates,
Mhm.
because those were estimates based on 3 weeks of trying to get them. So they're estimates right now. So let's really lock it in and let's really find the resources for Dark Sky. So when we're submitting that grant, it's real.
Mhm.
It's 100% real.
You're talking about just the lighting aspect
The
of it?
lighting aspect wasn't a part. I blanketed in a $15,000, which is, you know, on a different budget line. So if you look at the budget itself, it didn't include the finances in the grant for dark sky lighting. It just included power, the track gate, something else.
Okay.
So that was the dollar amount. So we need to circle back as a group and I'm building a recreational, what do they call it? Outdoor recreational committee. So cyclists that are really behind this, if they want to help, the clock is ticking to get all the resources in. So they're
I
gonna
have
help.
to say that, yeah, I think a committee could have been formed a while ago.
So it had,
Partly because I'm not sure that this is the one that will benefit the most of our residents, and now that we know what they want, a way to cross the highway, access to the river, improvement perhaps of our little park there that we could, I mean, there are all sorts of things that we could use outdoor recreation money
I've got
for.
a group of 10 people, they responded very quickly. We're meeting this next week and so everyone's going to get a task. So I mean,
And are they talking about possibilities other than the BMX track?
focus is the BMX track. the grant is the focus.
But, okay, the
Because-
grant is for outdoor recreation, so there are lots of other things it could be for. That's what my worry is, that.
I don't want to sidetrack our agenda too. We can,
Well, I have a question though about the ordinance. And, I don't know how we're gonna approach this, but in the sign ordinance that was passed last night, it does not allow internally lit signs. Lighting ordinance does. So we need to come to an understanding of what we really want. And then we'll have to, and then one, the other, or both, if we come up with kind of a compromise. And so I think we need to, that's a concern of mine, you know, and I really wanted to get the sign ordinance up for a public hearing just to get public input. And then we can hammer out some details. I didn't see it huge. You know, there's the landscape. I heard landscape. I have a lot, correct me if I'm wrong. I have lights in my house and they would be out of compliance, but I never, very rarely put them on.
Yeah.
I don't know how you solve that problem. You know,
Solve which problem?
you have lights that are out of compliance. And it would cost you, I heard tens of thousands of dollars. Those are really nice lights.
To replace them, yeah.
And we only have them on.
Right.
Once in a while.
It occurred to me that that's one of the ways we could help the people with the non-conforming lights is to say, okay, you are marked as a non-conforming light person and you have to turn your lights off, on and off at certain hours. Much more strict perhaps than people with dark sky compliant lights.
And then
And
the other thing that could easily be a solved problem is lower the wattage of the bulb. So,
What's that?
lower the lumens of the,
just have them dimmer.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anything that's on dimmer, you could limit how far they could be turned, I guess, to.
So. Yeah, I mean, you have a combination, you can lower the lumens, change the color, warm the color,
You know, if you have one of the ones you're describing, you can top it,
or you can shield it.
down shield
There's
it.
a lot of options to try, and I think that, the amortization period will hopefully allow the communication and the people desires to help. And the town desires to assist in helping people do those changes.
And I think I know what your other idea was. I think you shared it with me about, is it you or someone else?
About having fun.
Yes.
I mean, people care about this. Maybe they will put $1 in every water bill and say, please allow this to help people with non-conforming lights.
And then we have an application
Yeah.
process for that.
Yeah.
So I would support something like that. I would support having a designated event that is a fundraiser to support dark skies, you know? It could be a concert and then you turn the lights off and have a dark sky show. You know, or have a concert before the dark sky show.
I've always sort of fantasized about having a dark sky night where we turn off all of the street lights that exist and get everybody to turn out all their household lights, and on a night when there would be stars.
What
So,
do they call those?
so, what?
Is that what they call them?
Instead of a block party, you can, well, I guess you can't say that, never mind.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna do a word play, but it won't work.
Oh.
But I think I hear people, you know, especially the young families and
Have you
the,
ever been to like a silent disco where they have, my friends own all that, well, it's not, they own silent disco in Vegas. And so they've come out to my house, and when we have friends over,
we do silent disco.
we do that silent disco in my yard, and then, so that way everyone has music, and then in the morning, you know, you have the yoga, and it's like a retreat, but you go red. Because then it doesn't disturb anything and it doesn't affect them. Anyway, so that's really, you can even, yeah.
Just sort of some brainstorming we can do that, but I'd be really for that. I know that's outside, but. I think and it's unfortunate, you know, a lot of us can't be here because I want to hear everybody's ideas. So I just want to solve that problem. So we can make the
The
two,
conflict between the sign.
so that when we do send the sign, the lighting ordinance to the council, if the sign ordinance needs that, then we've talked about this before, then we could send it there, so it's just consistent.
Oh, you mean,
About
then we should determine what we should do.
internally lit signs or, I'd really like to invite Mr. Matzler back, because he mentioned something that was kind of a compromise, it's called Halo.
This halo,
Like,
that's, yeah,
we may want to go with that.
we may, yeah.
That is very non-intrusive, but you get that standout that would
Yeah.
help the business.
I think aesthetically it was really cute.
Yeah, so I'd like to educate us about that.
My thoughts in the interest of moving things forward would be to, change the lighting ordinance to match the sign ordinance, pass it, and then consider adding halo or whatever with a small amendment let down the road,
That's another option.
rather than let it pass up.
I,
Agree with that.
yeah, because I really want to move it out
I do too.
and get it done and get it
Yeah.
to the town council. And
So, and then you had an amendment you wanted to
I
make.
have a couple that were not significant,
Were they mentioned in the motion? Well, we'll have to have a public hearing again anyway. So if we can, I have till Sunday.
we talked about it last
Did you,
month.
but did you talk about it in the public hearing?
The public hearing that we had,
Last week? 'Cause
I would have.
No, no one talked about it in the public hearing, because it was just a public,
there was no amendments.
no, because it was just a public hearing.
Oh, it was just a
public-
public hearing. So, okay, so based on what the public hearing,
Only Lauren and Joe,
but if we add the change that Lee mentioned, we add the amendments Kent mentioned, right?
Are they
And I know
significant
when we mentioned,
changes?
we mentioned those two things. One was to automatically update the dating of, when the town council passes it. Because there's for the amortization period to start and so forth. So that was one of the amendments. So that can be handled also by the town council.
Yeah.
Darlene, we can, because we've already had one
Yeah, we
public
can
hearing,
vote on,
we
we can have a rehearing and vote.
can do
Yeah.
a rehearing and vote on the same night, because we only
Yes.
have one.
I was just gonna bring that up.
Yeah.
So let's get those changes in. I gotta get documents, although the title would be the same, right?
The other change that I've got it
Yeah,
here.
the title would be the same, because you're not changing it, right?
Yeah,
The other amendment was changing, where it prohibits two lighting, string, roof line lights. You can now get them where you can change the colors, you can have red and white for Valentine's Day, you can red for Christmas, and you just keep them up all the time. Some of them flash. And so that's the amendment that we have proposed and talked about.
So we need to, get the sign ordinance with that change. We need to get the sign ordinance with the same language as,
the,
excuse me, the lighting ordinance with the change in the streamline, the lighting ordinance with the, no internally lit signs.
right.
And the same language.
It's better to pass it that way and then make it more permissive than it is to go in the other
And
direction.
the third thing was the amortization, correct? Something about timeline.
Yeah,
when it starts.
It's just changing the date to coordinate with what previous, date was on the.
And then if I can, do you need that document by Sunday?
Yeah, so I'll have to post it for a public hearing.
Yeah, so I need that updated document by Sunday, and then because it's a second public hearing, we'll be good to vote. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes.
And neither commissioner is online, right?
No,
So here's the prohibited change this.
It's already there?
Yeah, well, I've sent it, I thought I sent it to Crystal, I know that, Paul has reviewed it.
Okay, so can you get together with Paul before Sunday? And send me a final copy
That,
with
yeah,
all those three changes?
I have already, and so I'll send, you keep that.
So, but with the other two changes, definitely have to do and Paul will understand what we mean by where you say we allow terminal signs. You're just gonna copy and paste what it says in the sign
I'm
ordinance.
gonna let you do that, because you might understand that better.
Okay, I can look at that.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll do that.
And I need it by Sunday, this Sunday.
Okay,
If I don't have it by this Sunday, it won't go for public hearing because it's done at the timeline I need to follow. Does that make sense? All right, is there any changes or thoughts? I really didn't see much comment. I think there was just maybe one person who made a comment about the death in commercial.
Yeah, Laura made a comment about that. Everybody that I've talked to has been in favor of having a debt,
That's
but anyway,
my
so
experiences as well.
I,
And that death is pretty, reflective of what currently is.
exactly, yeah, it's not, so imagining something that would be much deeper.
Yeah,
I think means imagining something that would definitely go into what would otherwise be a residential neighborhood, so I don't really get it, but.
And I think the way it's written now best reflects the results of our survey,
Yes, I agree.
you know, and then, you know, that's what the multiple.
I had one question, Crystal.
Yeah.
On lighting, I've asked you this before, and you've given me an answer, but I just want to double verify on that we have sent this to, Riker Lighting. He's
Yeah.
seen it and
Yeah.
approved it,
Yeah.
and we sent it to
Yeah.
our prosecuting attorney, and they have approved it?
Yeah.
Okay,
And did you
Without
put that
change.
language in,
we need to put
the prosecuting attorney language?
yeah, we need to add the
It's the same,
option A.
option A, it's the same as for the.
Yeah, we can't do anything else but option A.
So that needs to be done
That needs to
before
be added.
it gets
So that's,
another
yeah,
hearing too.
so Lee and I can probably.
Can we get
that-
together maybe?
Yeah. They'll have to be a, they'll have to be a cost of hope.
Right, no problem.
so you two guys are gonna handle it.
We'll
We
handle,
will handle it.
we'll handle, if you get me,
If that one change, that one thing that you just wrote, if Darlene has that, then we can do the other two.
Darlene has that
Okay,
highlighted there.
I have this,
okay.
I don't know the date change you keep mentioning.
Well, it's just going to, we'll just change the motion, when we make the motion, whoever makes the motion.
Oh, that would be a
that-
minor?
That the date of,
Emmer Station,
for,
Ah.
what's
Right,
the word again?
amortization.
Amortization date falls in line with the original document that we had. Is updated to when this is passed, because it's a 7-year period.
so that
So you have
starting
to,
from when
you have to
it's
start
passed.
from the starting point of
That's-
amortization,
That's similar language that we have in.
yeah.
I was a little distressed that last night the town council removed the date that we had put in. Can't remember which ordinance it was. But the purpose of having that date in there, is if it says,
It's probably the sign ordinance.
I guess it was a sign ordinance.
And it was explained to me that that date was redundant, that it's implied.
But the problem is that the language is going to be plopped into the ordinance, and it just says the date of this ordinance. As of the date of this ordinance, well, how is somebody going to interpret that? Are they gonna say the date of the land use ordinance, of Voodoo? I mean, people call that this ordinance too, so that's why I thought it needed to have a date in there and
Ordinance number.
an ordinance number, exactly.
There's a
Again,
date,
there's an
there's a date on
established,
there.
there's an I'm sure inside of it, there's going to say established on.
No, there's a date on the bottom of the ordinance
Something.
when it was
It's
passed.
always at the bottom. Right, but once it gets put in the ordinance and somebody goes through the ordinance book, they're gonna say, but they're not gonna have a date. It's,
No, it's still on there.
well, they could look at the end of the chapter and see that it was amended on such and such a date, but will they know which? You know, there might be a whole list of dates when it got amended or changed or whatever.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, like,
So-
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't think they got rid of the effective date. I didn't write that in my motion.
Well, it's the only date that was in the body of the thing, which would actually be in the chapter.
They got rid of the numbers.
Yeah, they got rid of the ordinance number and the date.
No. No, they didn't change anything on the sign ordinance.
I don't think so. Maybe it was a different ordinance.
I think you're thinking of something different. They didn't change anything on the sign ordinance.
The only thing, they had a point of clarification about whether it should be one or two ordinances because of the.
Yeah,
definition.
that was the clarification.
And they didn't even change that.
Yeah, they left it, because they asked Heath Snow what it should be, and he said it was fine to have it all together. And then they voted and left it on
Because it's clear that it's two separate chapters.
two separate
As it
chapters.
was when we turned it over to them, but somehow it got.
Right.
But, no, I don't think, I don't remember.
Yeah,
that
they
change.
didn't, the motion that when I was motioning or doing it,
It was just.
yeah.
a vote.
I think the date that you're thinking of is when they were talking about the zone changing, they were talking about that and the date of amending that stuff. Maybe you were getting confused on that one. Cause they didn't do anything else with the sign ordinance except for asking. She combined it all into one and then asked Heath if it needed to be separate versus on the definition.
He had, I understand what happened there. He had failed to read the actual language of the section where the definitions were and
Yeah.
just assumed that it was part of the
Yeah,
chapter.
Yeah.
And it's, no, it
Yeah.
was supposed to go into the chapter
and
two.
we were pulled up that section 2 that we were talking about. That's what they were pulling up. They were concerned and we asked and he said it was fine.
Yeah,
And so she left it.
yes.
And we haven't changed. The motion was just passed on how it was.
Yeah. That's what I heard. I was puzzled. Yeah,
I mean, I can pull up the minutes real quick.
No, it's okay. It's done, it's a deal.
so I think that one, we will take a public hearing and vote on the lighting ordinance in March. We will take a vote on location ordinance in March. Does anyone feel the need to have any amendments to that location?
Sorry, that he did make an amendment, so. On the sign ordinance, it was. Motion to approve the sign ordinance with amendments to the 52.9, 52.10, and 52.3. The number sign be deleted.
Oh, not the number?
No, the
Just
number
the
sign be deleted.
Thank you.
I'll remember, I'll read it out for you.
What does that mean, the number sign?
The ampersand.
The pound sign,
The like. the-
Oh.
it's in the ordinance, it's that, the number sign be deleted.
Number sign.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what.
Okay.
That's fine.
I wish
So
Larry-
that was the motion.
I wish Larry.
There you go.
Here. For this next item for the work ordinance, because we have the dueling ordinances here.
We do. We need Larry to look at the one that kind of includes stuff from both, which is,
So that one then will have to be moved to an April public hearing to allow that to happen,
why?
because I have to have things in by
Why don't you put it,
Sunday.
then put it both in.
Put them both in for public hearing? Okay, that was gonna be, so we have two versions of the work that I will have to get,
We're gonna do option A and option B,
yeah, kind of like we did with.
Like we did with subdivision.
subdivisions. Okay, just send them to me and mark them as option A and option B.
Okay,
And we'll have it as title A. We'll have the same title,
yeah,
and then I'll list it, I'll just attach both attachments option. A.
And I'm going to like flip a coin as to which one is A, and which one is B. I'll do that, I'll have one. Somebody-
It's got Larry's A, so started it,
Oh, that should be in chronological order.
yeah,
Good. Good, I like things that are transparent, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, now, do we have any other ordinances? I was very happy to hear at the public hearing when, or the public meeting when I listened to it, that, setbacks on mesas and viewscapes were
Yes.
being mentioned. And is it my understanding that Riker's going to, Riker's going to start writing something on that?
And that should probably be in our general plan too, but yes.
Yes, that is something that should be in our general plan.
Yes, I'm very happy to hear about that too.
So, I know that's one thing that's good
What
on
meeting was that mentioned?
here.
Last night?
No, the week before.
Oh,
It was mentioned by Larry. Larry brought it up.
Yeah, you
said
said you
something-
looked at the one in Washington or something and it was
When,
very
like,
long.
what other, are there any other ordinances you would like me to work on?
Exactly, right? Yes.
Okay. The other item up that I want to re-mention is, the whole duplex thing. And I think, Lee and I are working on that,
I put it into an order.
but as our code currently stands, there already is a structure on that less than an acre, and so another structure would not be,
Right.
another residential structure would not be allowed at this time.
It's 4,800 square feet. It's just like, if that's the structure size, right? I mean, that's the, I mean,
It's huge.
4,800, there's another house on that lot as well.
so are we talking about Tom LaCar? Yeah. So
There's another house on that lot.
he has, I have so much in my head right now with parcels and things, I can't remember on his parcel, how many he might have. And if then he would, I don't know.
But if he has it 1 acre, he's not gonna be able to put anything else.
no, I think
I
it's more than.
he has more than an
They're
acre,
separate.
There's, and there's, I think there's more than one parcel.
more than one parcel.
He would have to use some, I don't think he's willing to do that, but he would have to either
Subdivide. Divide
or merge or.
something, yeah, but let's act as if there's 10 acres and we're gonna go think about it, right? And with a duplex, if he has the acreage, if he can keep it low density and build what he's presenting,
That would require the merging of.
it's like a duplex. It's like 4,800 square foot home, side by side. It's how I'm visualizing it. I have all his printouts over there too.
I have,
Okay,
we all have,
okay, great,
and I looked at it and I talked to him, but then I read our ordinances,
right.
and then I looked up on the map. And I'm like going, oh, there's already a structure there, which the town council didn't know of.
Well, that's the current
Now
house.
they do, that's his current house, but it's just like, I couldn't build another house. On my own.
Totally. 100%. But if we wanted to start having, I mean, I'm just, don't let, this isn't working, don't let me interrupt, yeah.
So the baseline for me is that we don't go over 1 equivalent residential unit per acre. And unless you're hooked up to sewer. To me, I will never vote for anything that allows more density than that
100%.
because of our groundwater and our river and the scientific agencies that have told us that we ought to have at least an acre minimum lot size.
I 100,
can you feel a
think
little
that
stronger
same-
about that?
That was a little extreme. wasn't it?
So like, if you would be willing to merge that, then you
So-
could actually.
I want the one without his house, because there's the one that this house that it's on. It's the property next to him, the commercial property. It is 1.99 acres. That's the commercial property that he wants to
That,
pursue.
that's not what the plans say, because if you wanted to do that, that would be,
That'd be totally doable.
That'd be totally doable.
Yeah, his paperwork says
His paperwork says otherwise.
just that one parcel.
That's probably.
On the
verbal
other
error.
parcel, let me look at the other parcel.
Those are on the documents.
We know the other parcels are there, we just, that's not what he was applying for, he wanted to put it on that one parcel.
Oh, the one parcel with the where his house is currently
Right.
at. Let's
You can't do that.
No,
We don't,
right,
Yeah, but that's what the drawings say.
got it. And
And if that's a mistake, it would make me happy because that is a good
Okay,
solution.
so the one with his house, the.
Is like 2/3 or,
It's
three-
0.73.
yeah.
yeah, it's 3/4,
Yeah.
not even 3/4 of an acre, so,
Right, so, but I believe it was the commercial,
I think it was a separate, not, it
Oh,
wasn't his house.
sorry, both of those properties are commercial properties.
Yes.
the
So,
zone
you're right.
commercial for some reason, but,
But if you wanted to stick it on the other parcel, not the one with his
Yes.
house, the other parcel, which is the one where 2 acres is on.
Mhm.
that would
We'd have
or
to-
you could merge them all, and then he could place them wherever he wanted to, as long as he didn't go over
100
acre
square
per
feet.
acre.
Yeah,
With 100 feet.
then you would have, if you
and
merged them together, then you would have
Yeah.
2.73 acres.
Yeah, then he could, yeah. I'm proposing an ordinance that essentially limits the two, yeah, you can have that. That essentially limits a two-family house to the equivalent of what one family would be. So it's a two-family house, but there's a maximum of 5 bedrooms in the whole building. So one apartment could have 2 bedrooms, the other could have 3, and stuff like that. And one of the reasons I thought that made sense is because if you look at the people or if you look at the statistics from the public survey, like 80% of the people in Virgin live in two-person families. So there are very few families larger than 2 people. So why do we base everything on 5 bedrooms? You know, one family could have 5 bedrooms, then why can't 2 families be in 5 bedrooms, you know? I just think that ends up with the same impact.
I think that was Misty's suggestion as well. On these diagrams, and this is, there is a study. There's 2 bedrooms in the study in each one.
That could be a problem, you know, because,
I mean, converted.
yeah, it can easily be converted. Anything can easily be converted to a bedroom counts as a bedroom, but, I mean, maybe you could make that change, you just make one bigger or.
And he's looking for long-term rentals too, it's not short-term.
Yeah.
Right, and that's a requirement in this ordinance that I'm proposing.
All right, so, do you feel this ordinance is ready to go out for public hearing? I know we talked.
I want input,
Yeah,
but yeah, why not? I mean,
and we could do the same thing like we're doing with Steinberg, put it up, get input, talk about it, put it up again, and then because it's a second public hearing, we can vote.
I'm all in favor of moving forward.
Ken, what are your thoughts?
I need to talk to Lee about making sure I understand this two-family concept.
Yes.
What we're trying to accomplish.
And duplexes, just going back to honoring the survey results, that wasn't desired, nothing above.
Nothing above.
It was very clear, it was
Yeah.
nothing above.
Nothing about,
It was very clear,
yes,
Right.
very clear.
and so,
So, I mean, and I'm not terribly interested in affordable housing, but that's still sort of a duty of ours to keep in mind, right? Even though the majority of the public, let somebody else take care of that. I think that, I think it makes sense for us to still think about it.
so do you wanna ask questions now?
No, I'll talk with her and kind of get her
Okay,
what she's trying to do and get a better understanding of it.
so that would be 3. Or 4, but we didn't have any. This one happened, I mean, we kind of piled up in January, so, we really worked out well, I think.
Yes.
So under other items, duplex, I'm gonna put it for public hearing. And live work ordinance, ordinance, option A and B for public hearing. A re-public hearing on the lighting, so it's only three.
Are we
And,
not doing a location? We're doing.
well, I'm not there yet, that doesn't need a public hearing, because there were no suggested changes,
I
right?
want a location.
Location, right?
Yeah.
Am I missing anything that the council, I didn't hear anything that the council charged us with.
I didn't either, but I didn't see the end of the meeting.
That they what?
Do they charge us with anything?
No.
No, and I don't wanna leave poor Mr. Lacoste.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I just think,
I really don't, so I'm
They,
glad.
they talked about that in town council last night, I know, still.
What karate did.
Yeah.
Or Paul, one of the two.
Yeah.
So, so let's do that. Okay, and I think that will be enough.
So there's three
Three,
things, but there's gonna be 4 ordinances.
there's a vote on 2 ordinances and a re-public hearing on 1, and yeah. Got it, because there's an A and B.
Right.
Okay,
oh, right,
is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Does anybody have any other final comments or thoughts?
just that we have homework and I wanna go through it in my head, we have.
That's my last thing to do, okay.
Okay.
So, our biggest homework, I think, we have 2. One, Lee and I need to get that lighting ordinance updated with the information you gave us, and you're gonna just make that other amendment.
Yeah,
Because that's
I was
like-
gonna make that an amendment too, that highlighted,
But we're just gonna
but
add
you can add, that's fine, and,
that.
I would, you could put this on the bottom instead of having to add it as an amendment, you could just say, when the town council passes, it sets in place
So you wanna,
the amortization period.
it's the same as in Vermont, the signs.
Oh,
I think we did the same thing in the sign ordinance.
and so I can't believe that we independently came up with the same thing, which I thought they objected to, but I guess that they didn't, so.
Well, yeah, they just objected to the.
But,
Oh,
The hashtag.
we also need to add, are you adding those, or making a list of the signs?
yes,
No, the lighting. So one is the, language for option A, which we can just, will be the same as it is in the sign ordinance. 2 is the string, like those LED strings, continuous LED.
which we have
strings.
language for.
There's language there. 3 is, 50.24, change the date and amortization. That's, oh, and 4 is the, removing language about internally lit signs.
Right.
And replacing it with, the sign number. I think there's 4, right?
But maybe we can just add a not or something like that, just make it negative so that later if we decide, yeah.
Oh,
what happens,
then we can just strike the one. Yes, I'm also going to ask. I don't know when I should do this, I think it should be at a work meeting, maybe in March, to ask Mr. Matzler if he's available to educate us about halo lighting. Because that may be the compromise we're looking.
Yeah. Does that ring a bell for you, Ken?
The halo lighting.
It's
Yeah.
pretty
No.
cool. I noticed it a lot as I was driving back and forth to St. George these past 2 weeks.
Why do they call it halo lighting?
Because it just is a small halo around the letters.
I see.
It doesn't cause that glow?
Instead of a full black background, internally lit.
And it looked good when I saw it, and I'm going, that's,
It's cool looking. I just wonder if it does,
it does, but it is.
might be such
It
low,
is LED.
it might be such low brightness that it wouldn't even be affected by the ordinance. Possible, right? There,
Oh, on
Yeah,
signs, wait a minute, halo lighting
right.
To determine.
on signs, we gotta, like this.
Yeah, it was just,
An outline. What do you think?
I mean, I like the idea, but I'm not sure that it doesn't cause glow.
Yeah, so,
We need to research it.
We need to build more.
is it properly shielded?
So I will research indoor lighting.
Okay,
I
good.
think that would be controlled mostly by, the lumens and color.
Right,
The color and stuff like that,
I think it's,
because it could be, or it could be
right,
soft and.
right.
You know, on the other hand, this downlighting on the Bloomingdale side is lovely.
Is it the same thing as a halo?
That's downlighting.
I heard your worry about LEDs and I couldn't find anything that suggested there was a problem as long as you didn't allow very much blue light, you kept it warm.
Yeah.
That's what you,
Well, if you go to dark skies, or
Yeah, if you're properly shielded and you keep in mind that concept of, even within your borders.
right.
And I,
okay. And then we all need to work hard, Mr. Smith.
Right,
I said I would send out individual copies
yeah, I wrote some notes, well,
to all commissioners. And if they can't drop them into SharePoint in their proper folder, then they would send them back to me with their comments. I'm gonna give us a 2-week deadline for that.
so the folder that you want us to put them in?
I'll create it.
Oh, okay,
And it will be, general plan comments. And then in that folder, I'll have a folder for introduction, I'll have a folder for each element.
and will there be a Word document that we can each all?
I will email them. Well, here's the problem, is getting them in a timely manner to Kevin.
Right,
And what I would like is, the easiest way to do it, and I might just do this, is I will send a Word doc to every commissioner on each topic. And give you a 2-week deadline to get it back to me. And then I will send them on to Kevin and put them in a shared folder so we can also.
I guess my only comment about that is that our comments might conflict on a certain issue, but if we were able to see them and talk to each,
Before sending them to Kevin?
yeah, then we could maybe avoid some,
I'm just going on past experience, so that's not happening.
okay,
I mean, I think there's only two commissioners make regular comments.
okay.
And I don't know all of the reasons, and there may be some very good reasons, but that opportunity would be there.
Quite often I liked Larry's comments on something and maybe thought, well, that's a better idea than what I was about to suggest. So anyway, I guess it doesn't matter because Kevin can,
Well, then when we meet, we'll all have comments to talk about. Kevin will have seen them all.
will have seen them all and maybe propose what he thought.
In a
was
timely
best.
manner, so he has time to digest. And that will still give us 2 weeks to then read other people's things before we do our meeting.
Oh, good, good.
Does that sound like?
Yeah, that was good.
So 2 weeks from this day is. Write things down, is, March 5th. 2, 2, 3, 5, March 5th. And then to send to Kevin. And to post in SharePoint, right?
And you're, well, before that, going to send us the
I will,
raw material.
Yes,
Okay.
my due date is Sunday.
Okay.
I will try to do it tomorrow, but I haven't been able to plan my day very well.
Oh, no.
So, is there anything else? The discussion about neighborhood commercial. Oh, how did that go in the public?
I don't remember that.
And it didn't seem like much.
I really don't. I did take notes.
I know, I had some comments and I know Lee had comments and I know, Larry had some comments. But there was a little confusion about which draft were we looking at. I think like my comments might have been on the wrong draft.
I think he hadn't. I don't know.
So I'm gonna add my homework is to send any comments on neighborhood commercial documents in SharePoint to Crystal, who will send them to Ryder.
Can we? I noticed that when he made it its own chapter, right?
Yeah,
That some of my comments that I made on a previous document were there.
oh,
So
so we just need the one?
maybe,
Okay. All right. So I'll download and send. And I gotta put my name by this.
I feel like there's a lot in neighborhood commercial that we need to discuss as a commission. Like what really, which usage should be,
I think that should be, looking at this. I think our next work meeting will be primarily, I don't think we're gonna have a lot of contention with this solution for the new steps to allow it, but I could be wrong. So we will have to discuss that because it's up for public hearing. I feel there will be a lot of discussion on the report and combining them. But I could be wrong.
well, I just wish that Larry would
Yeah,
watch that.
it'll be those two and neighborhood commercial is step up and come to report next month.
March 9th.
Yeah, that's gonna be our work meeting. Those will be my top three. That's what I envision. What do you think?
I was just gonna say that if Larry would talk to me, maybe we could make it one ordinance.
Yeah, you might email him.
Okay, I'll try to do that.
And, I have this number.
Okay,
Or our numbers are on the town list.
okay,
In case you didn't know.
right.
All right, so I have some homework assignments. Lee, because I have these other ones, do you mind just taking the lead on the lighting changes?
Oh, okay.
And then,
I'll need that piece of paper.
and then this is ready as is. And it's in the ordinances in progress or something folder, correct? So I know where that is. And, I'll get the lighting rooms from you. I believe I will send an email to you and to Larry to send me a clean copy of your versions of the live work,
Oh, okay, that's a good idea.
because that's the easiest way.
Like file
So
this.
you want just a PDF, right?
Yeah, just for
Yeah.
posting, yeah, just
Just
PDF.
a PDF.
You can, I mean, yeah, just,
Well, if they send it to me in Word, that's fine. I can change it to PDF. Okay, but I need a clean copy, so I better write that down, start reading. No. And there we. By, and then,
When, what are these amortization dates gonna be changed to?
the date is passed.
Yeah, so upon the date of town council passing the ordinance.
Okay, it says that our audit has to be completed by that date. Is it started?
No, so the audit won't start until we pass it.
Because it says the town conducted an audit of non-conforming outdoor lights to be completed by, oh, March 1st, 2026. Sorry.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it'll be 1 year from the time that the town council passed it.
Okay, and so this one would be the,
And you have a list of those 4 items, right, that we talked about?
yeah,
You want to repeat that?
Option A for enforcement, string light language, amortization date, and prohibit, internal lit signs.
Yeah. All good, Ken?
Yep.
All right. Do we have a motion to
Motion to
adjourn?
adjourn.
Second?
I,
Favor? Lee seconded.